We're going to have a description of some of the outfits and uniforms you've seen during the course of the week and thought, well, what's that? And why does he look like that? And what's he got that silly hat on for? So tonight, I'm going to start off in year order, going up through the years, from earliest, me, and the other pirate there, right up to virtually modern day. So my first description tonight is myself, Caribbean pirate. And you're thinking, what's this got to do with North America? It's interesting to note that, as many of you should know, the Caribbean islands are just off the southern Florida coast. Piracy was common at the time, the golden age being 1650 to 1730. In fact, many famous American towns, such as New York, and quite a few of the other eastern seaboard colonies that eventually become states, were funded by piracy. Now, in a lot of pirate films you've seen and you've heard of gold doubloons and pieces of eight. Well, pieces of eight was a quite a large silver Spanish coin that could be cut into pieces, 8 pieces in fact, hence pieces of 8. And when they was cut up and melted down for silver, they was cut into quarters, hence eventually what became known as, in American currency, as a quarter. When in English currency you don't have a 25 pence piece, do you? For a quarter of a pound. But the dollar was derived from the Spanish thala, which was corrupted eventually and called dollar. And on a Spanish thala, a large silver Spanish coin, there's 2 classical posts on the coin with a ribbon wrapped around them. And that is said to be the beginnings of the American dollar sign, the S with the 2 lines through. Another piece of information about the pieces of 8, of course, a quarter is cut into 2 bits, or 2 pieces, or eighths, is where the American term 2 bits come from. So, all in all, that's what piracy has got to do with America. Enough about me. Second description this evening, if you'd like to step forward. What you see before you is one of the famous lady pirates, Miss Anne Bonny. She was the lover of Calico Jack. She was born in Dublin and became the companion of the famous pirate Calico Jack, which is a matter of interest for anybody who's watched Pirates of the Caribbean. I haven't myself, obviously, but you know, I lie. I am a pirate. And you've seen the flag on the Black Pearl, which is the skull and cross cutlasses. That is in fact the personal flag of Calico Jack, which Walt Disney pirated for the film. As you can see, she carries a cutlass and a pistol, typical of pirates at the time. She wears necklaces and rings, lace stolen from Spanish treasure ships, which were on their way from Spain whilst plundering the South American Aztec gold. Anne Bonny was said to have been one of the most fiercest fighters in Calico Jack's crew, giving no quarter to her victims. It's said that in battle she would, as a woman, bare her chest to distract her victims before running them through with a cutlass. Lovely lady. Look at this parchment all over the floor. Right, next description. Lady there is of the persuasion of being Amish. In 1628, Joseph Emmet disapproved of the liberal approach to religion practiced by his fellow Swiss Protestants. He and his followers moved to America and set up farms, towns and churches modelled on a frugal, strict, old-fashioned code. That is, no frills or fancy clothes, no ornamentation or jewellery, except a wedding ring, no bright colours, and no new-fangled ideas like buttons. Bare feet or clogs for work and buckle shoes for Sunday. A woman was allowed white gloves and a small amount of embroidery on her wedding shirt. Everything else had to be sombre black. Many of the old rules still apply in Indiana today, although they now use the devil's work, buttons and zips. The next one, we have a Mexican general from the Battle of the Alamo. Battle of the Alamo, 1836. A lot of the uniforms was given by France to help with the Mexican struggle. France never liked Britain. And so, as you can see, the style and that of the Mexican uniform is based on French officers around the time of the Napoleonic era. So obviously France was the Napoleonic era being sort of 1815, 1818. So by 1836 you can see French was trying to dump its old uniforms. So by then they was treating the Mexicans to them. So there's a typical Mexican uniform of the Alamo period, of their fight against Texas. Thank you. Next one out. General Robert E. Lee, time of the American Civil War, wears a typical frock coat and officer's hat of the period. Robert E. Lee, the officer in charge of the Southern Army, I nearly said Northern, nearly got lynched. As you can see, a typical officer of the time, only he was the top-ranking general, of course, as you can see from the stars on his collar, and eventually, and I think quite rightly, surrendered at the Appomattox.